everyone, and welcome to the Science Out East podcast from the University of East London. I'm Karl Smith, Head of Research Excellence at the University, and your host today. Today, I am joined by Beatrice Newman, Head of Department of Fashion at University of East London, and also Sicgmone Kludje and Vanessa Koranteng from the Black Girl Knit Club, who are here to discuss the value of craft and the community. So thanks so much to our listeners for joining us. Vanessa, Beatrice, Sicgmone, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Thanks, Karl, and hi, everybody. So as he said, my name is Beatrice Newman. I am the Head of Department for Fashion at the University of East London, but I'm also a fashion design entrepreneur. I've been working with both they and Sicgmone for a little over, how long has it been? About maybe 3-4 years or so.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have them as part of this podcast to really talk about the amazing and phenomenal things that they do in supporting me as a fashion designer as well and bringing about that community. So yeah, can't wait.
So my name is Sicgmone Kludje, one half of Black Girl Knit Club alongside Vanessa. Very excited to be here. So yes, co-founder of Black Girl Knit Club. I'm also from a textiles knitwear background. I'm a knitwear designer by practice, you could say. And I'm also a lecturer within textile design and have been crafting, I'd probably say, maybe for over like 10 years, 10, 15 years now. And we set up Black Girl Knit Club in January 2019, but I guess we'll go into that once we have more of the conversation.
Hi all, thank you all for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And like Sicgmone said, I'm one half of Black Girl Knit Club. I also am a creative entrepreneur, founded Brandra Studio, which is a fashion and creative styling e-commerce platform as well.
Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. But I think all the listeners would like to know, first of all, what exactly is the Black Girl Knit Club and how did it get started?
So Black Girl Knit Club is a business that Vanessa and I set up in January 2019, mainly to promote more diversity within knitwear and craft. And I could say when it started in January 2019, Vanessa and I had been friends from school, and I had just finished doing my PG cert to lecture in textiles and was looking at what is the experience of Black females and kind of in higher education within the creative arts. And I was really reflecting on my experience of being a Black female textile designer and not really learning on my course about other Black female makers, specifically knitters. And at the time, Vanessa had her business Brandra Studio and we were always collaborating together, and we'd got together, I think it was one day, we were looking for different jobs, etc. And I was thinking about the fact that we'd never been to a space where we had met other different Black crafters, knitters or makers. And I guess from a lot of discussion and us thinking about all of our different kind of approaches and stuff that we do, kind of the idea of Black Girl Knit Club was kind of formed from there. And then we had our first workshop, I believe, in the February of that year. And I think initially we were like, we want to have like a space where women can learn different techniques. And we had like a whole series of things set up for the day. And we found that people just wanted to be in a space with people that look like them, with other Black women. And we had like older women, people that had been knitting for years, people that had never tried craft. And essentially it was a space where they just wanted to share their skills, their expertise, speak about their children, their hair, things that happened to them in the week. So we kind of often found that, well, from that first workshop, it wasn't actually about the end product of what was made, but it was what was happening in the space. And I think that was essentially how it kind of formed kind of quite organically. And we're still amazed by all the different things we've done over the past 5 years. But I guess that's where it kind of stemmed from, and us wanting to create a space where people could learn skills using their hands from each other as well.
Vanessa, do you want to come in here as well?
Okay, yes. So we started 2019, I believe it was February 2019. And we realized that there wasn't an inclusive space, and we decided to fill that gap and create that gap for just women who have craft in common, and they really just wanted to learn a new skill and develop a new skill. And throughout the 5 years, we have honed in on those skills and commissioned different Black female creatives to host our workshops and collaborate with us and brands, etc. But we also wanted to make sure there was like visibility for the craft space. So there was a lack of community There was a hashtag called Diverse Nitties, and there was a lack of community of people who looked like us in the craft space. So we really wanted to empower and enhance our story, as well as creating new stories for our wider community. And also, similarly, we wanted women or people to just come and share their stories and inspire each other through craft and through developing a new skill.
So, Beatrice, can you tell us, the listeners, how you came to work with Vanessa and Sicgmone?
Sicgmone and they, when they launched, posted some of my work, and it felt really amazing to know that a community was out there that had found me and was promoting me to a wider audience. When they launched their yarn collection, which was around the Peacock of Ademe, it's a particular wax print used in West Africa, Ghana. We're all Ghanaians, so I think even more closer to me. I decided that it'd be really great to get in contact with them to see if they would be interested in a collaboration. I'd also just relaunched my brand and thought it'd be a great way to really touch on my culture and celebrate it. So the girls were really forthcoming, and one thing led to another, and we were able to work on sort of particular pieces utilizing my craft and their yarn, which is sold at Liberty's London. Like, I had to say, that's actually really, really phenomenal to be in such a huge marketplace, actually. And I think it just goes to show how, again, important areas in sort of diversity culture is being played and supported and lifted up. And this was really how the collection moved forward in.
Yes, so I was trying to even think back to when because I feel like we've just known you forever. Just in terms of how the collaboration came ahead. I think we had shared your pieces, and then you contacted us about doing a potential kind of collaboration, and you designed some tops for us using our upcycled yarn, and then we actually used those pieces for a campaign called Be Who You Are with the Andes Hotel that was featured in the whole of their campaign, using our wax print cloth pieces. And just to mention, the Peacock of Ademe is actually a fruit from Togo that's kind of passed down through the mother to daughter. So kind of this idea of sisterhood. So when you got in contact with us, it was like probably like the perfect collaboration. And then we did a whole collaboration with the Book Foundation, a charity based in Ghana. And I think, you know, our relationship with Koranteng is why we kind of started the Black Girl Knit Club. It was kind of giving the visibility to different Black female designers, and also that cross collaborations as well.
And what's really powerful for me to listen to that. So it wasn't just about the craft, it was the community that developed from that, I think. And it sounds like some great things have already emerged from that. But I'd love to hear a bit more about some of the key projects or outputs that have emerged from the group since it formed in 2019.
I mean, there's lots of different projects that we've done. I guess I could highlight a few. We were there's a gallery called Two Temple Place near Somerset House. And we were they had an exhibition called Unbound, was looking at different female textile collectors. So the gallery approached us and asked us to kind of come into the space to do a first public kind of workshop. So this was just before the 2020 lockdown. And they wanted us to come into the space and share our story in some sort of way, because I had different female textile collectors from different parts of the world, but not from a British African perspective. And so we came into the exhibition space, and they had a piece by Yinka Shonabare called The Wanderer. And we ended up, because we have an upcycled wax print cloth that we have as part of our knit club. And we basically got participants to look at Yinka's piece. It's all using wax print cloth, and we kind of knit with the cloth as part of a knit club. So we got participants to kind of look at the piece. And then we had public kind of arm knit workshops where people shared their kind of textiles and stories, did like a massive, like large scale pieces as part of that. We also most recently did a massive yarn bomb installation in Stratford Cross, called Braided Tradition Common Threads. It was our first kind of public installation in a very large space. V and I both went to school in East London as well. So it was really exciting to kind of do something in that space as well. So we had a series of workshops over 6 weeks where we invited the public, kind of different Black women, to come in and learn arm knitting techniques. Reuse hubs in East London, so Yodomo, the Children's Scrap Project, and the piece was there for a series of kind of 5 months. Really exciting because it's in Stratford Cross, which links to kind of the new UAL building, the BBC, Sadler's Wells. It's near Stratford International, so you get lots of kind of footfall coming through the space. And then we commissioned 6 different knitwear designers. As we mentioned, that part of the club is also about us giving visibility to different Black female makers. So we had each different knitter yarn bomb each different tree based on their kind of relationship with their hair and hair stories. And essentially it was about us inviting the public to learn about different Black women that craft and their stories, and the kind of bringing them into the space.
Just coming from a designer perspective as well, and just understanding the value of what Vanessa and Sicgmone have built, particularly for me, it's just a space for me, even as a Black designer and creative, to be able to be known and be shared within a greater, wider community, and a platform such as theirs that they've been able to build on social media. I think we need to remember that whilst they were launched in 2019, right after that you had COVID, and then you had the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, which shone a light on the fact that there were not a lot of global ethnic majority being highlighted within the space of not just craft or fashion, but the creative industry as a whole. And seeing Black Girl Knit Club's platform sort of really begin to rise and develop out of some of these unfortunate events, I think also proved too much noise going on in the world, and also the lack of support, and the fact that if their platform was there, I think that support, that community was grown, and me being able to then go from not being relatively well known to sort of being contacted, being used as inspiration, say for teaching, and also for, I think, other Black creatives who are coming up in this world to find their own voice and not be afraid to, I guess, be themselves. As Sicgmone has referenced, in academia, particularly when you are in an environment that was not made for you, the educational system can sometimes be very Western, white focused, as opposed to really broader and looking at the culture.
What's so impressive listening to this is just the variety of things you've been doing. But I'm hearing not just about the community element and the diversity element, but also the sustainability element. And you use the term there, upcycling. Now, University of London is very committed to the whole sustainability agenda. How did sustainability become a big part of the Black Girl Knit Club?
With sustainability, we also really wanted to make sure that is a factor within our club as well. We had upcycled wax print yarn that we focused mainly on the actual material of it, and so what it is actually made out of and the storytelling behind it. We were also stocked in Liberty of London, which was actually very large sale for us as a business as well, but also the aspect that we were able to add a bit of storytelling to that, to the product, which is the end goal, as well as making sure that our community were empowered to use this wax print yarn, and also make sure that their story has also been showcased within our product as well. But it also links back to what I was doing previously with Branches Studio, because I also had a focus on garment care and reusing and adding like new storytelling to secondhand and vintage garments. Alongside obviously graduating from Brighton Uni, I made sure that the collections that I would collect would be editorially shot. I would make sure that it was styled creatively, but also making sure that the people who would actually buy my garments would make sure that they would also have a different story to tell or add a new story. But also linking back to the community activation that we did in Stratford over the past 5 months, I believe, which we had just taken down. We made sure that the members wanted to showcase their hair, mainly Black women wanted to showcase the importance and reflect on their individual stories of their Black hair as well. So we just really want to make sure that their story is at the centre of it, obviously adding the craft and the arm knits and everything into it, and making sure the workshops was focused on their skill and also learning a new skill. But really just wanted to make sure that, in a sense, it's like recycling from our skills, Simone's skills, but the club skills, and making sure that this new activation or this workshop was highlighting the importance of reusing and upcycling different materials.
Okay, so the storytelling aspect of this group is really coming across very strongly, and I think there's multiple facets to that. If you're recycling something, if you're upcycling something, then there's the whole who used to own this item. What were the individual stories of the garments that you're making a new garment from? But there's also the stories of the people who are part of this group. So I'd love to hear a bit more how storytelling has become such a big part of the group.
It's interesting you mentioned how storytelling has become a big part of the group. And I think when you think about craft, and I think about my position as a textile designer and coming into craft, that I think also being British, also being Ghanaian, and even currently doing my thesis on craft, I've always been fascinated about, when we think about craft stories, even like the woven cloth, the kente cloth, when we think about the kente, and within the Ghanaian cloth, every kind of pattern tells a different story and a history about the cloth. If we think about different Black female makers and groups, if you think about the Sicgmone quilt makers, where they used to have a different quilts, the quilts tell different stories that were passed down from mother to daughter and different generations. If we think about Rose Sinclair, who's one of the only Black female knitwear designers that talks about the Dorcas clubs in the Bible, where Caribbean women would migrate from the Caribbean to the UK, but through storytelling, through crafting, and through making. And I feel like similarly, in a way, when we think about Black Girl Knit Club, it's the community and the stories that are kind of central to how we bring everything together. So in terms of, even we're talking about the aspects of kind of like sustainability and storytelling, like Vi mentioned, a lot of the members that are part of our group, they also sometimes lead on particular workshops. So we have Cherie, who's like a workshop facilitator, who comes with a whole plethora of skills and kind of knowledge exchange. So I feel that stories are important to how the legacy is then passed on within the group, with different skills, with different people coming from different kinds of backgrounds, etc. And for this particular activation, if it wasn't for people bringing in their stories about their particular hair and the histories and the different textures, then we wouldn't have had an activation. So I believe when it comes to different kinds of makers, that the stories and narratives that we tell come through our material and the materiality that we produce. And I think it's important when we think about sustainability, identity, especially with Black Girl Knit Club, when we think about the visibility of Black makers, we started because of the fact, for instance, when I studied at university, I wasn't taught about many different Black female makers and the works that they did. So I guess it's important that because if we don't tell our stories, who's going to, someone else is going to tell them for us. So it's important that is at the center of what we do.
And that comes across so well. But what's also coming across here is that community aspect. So you're sharing stories and that's enriching the work. And we use this phrase, a patchwork quilt, and it sounds like you're very much a patchwork quilt, but you're sewing things together in a way that's much greater than the sum of the parts. And I think that's really enriching. So look, my partner bought me a shirt last week, a shirt made out of recycled materials. I said, Karl, but it was 5 times more expensive than all the other shirts, even though it was the only one that was made using recycled materials. So there's preconception that sustainable fashion is more expensive. What are your views on this, and how does that inform your approach to your work, knowing that the public might think that sustainability means more expensive?
I think that, yes, sustainability may mean that things are slightly more expensive, but when you hear the backgrounds of the stories, then I think you value it more. So for instance, if we think about, there's a brand called AAKS. All of their bags are kind of hand woven in like northern Ghana. I think she's sold in like Selfridges, Browns. I think she's like worldwide. I even went to Lisbon in the summer and saw a lot of her pieces in a lot of the shops. But if you think about the storytelling and the process of, the fact that this has all been kind of handmade, and the labor and the sustainable chain, so it means that all of the weavers are kind of paid fairly. And it's kind of shown really within the framework of her business. I mean, she presented something at, I think, Fashion Revolution Week Ghana. And when we first started Black Girl Knit Club, we did Fashion Revolution Week. I believe Vi was in Victoria at the time as well. So I think that, yes, with sustainability, things can be slightly more expensive. But is it more expensive when we look at the value of the time that is taken in that crafting process? And if we think about the work that Beatrice does with Koranteng and those like intricate laced, this hand and the lacing and the crochet technique, that when we weigh it up, yes, it may be slightly more expensive, but when we think about the sustainable chain, that sometimes that can also be the output. I mean, we know that within our business model, we always explain, even with our upcycled wax print cloth, I think the first one actually came from, it was something that's given to me from my grandmother in Ghana, and we had kind of upcycled that we always explain the story and the process as well, and take people along the journey with us.
Just to add with the sustainability aspect, I think with Black Girl Knit Club, we in turn are creating like and crafting community that I feel like is forming a skill that is building confidence of the community. Like with our wax print yarn, yes, it's like a tangible product. But in the end, we are like building like a unique, identifiable brand that does support the craft of the community. We also collaborate with like Black female crafters such as Koleki. We commissioned, I think, Peju Abasso as well to create knitted bags as well. And she was also part of the community activation. And it also, yes, it may seem expensive, but if we look at like the economic empowerment of focusing on like creating a legacy for like the artisans back in Ghana or even here in the UK, we are sort of improving their livelihoods by empowering their skill. In turn is like that cycle empowering our club as well. But also if you look at like some other certain like grassroots roles, we've recycled cotton in the UK as well to create a tangible product, but also it's making sure that workers are being paid fairly. But I feel like it is like a misconception that it is expensive, because if you look at the value, like Simone said, the value of highlighting the skills, making sure the skills are actually being showcased to wider brands, and the quality and the longevity of making sure that the product has a backstory linking to the storytelling, and making sure that like our club is empowered in turn. Like if we were to buy a certain product, we know where it has come from, we know the story, we may even know the founders through the actual product. So I feel like we are like encouraging a new story as well.
I think also for me is sustainability can often be relegated to just fabrication, product, materialization. And people don't necessarily see the value of, well, why would community be classed or classified within the whole scope of us becoming more sustainable? And I think when you think about community, it's also the gathering of like-minded individuals where you can share concepts, where you can share ideas, where you can share culture and tradition. And even within those nuggets of wisdom that I think we tend to take for granted, again, in this Western world, you forget, but then you begin to realize in having these conversations with a diverse range of people that there are sustainability systems that could really be implemented that would support our community. And so sustainability is also part of diversity. I think developing that community and that language and really understanding those stories will support and really help build up, I guess, the narrative and the further development of where we're trying to go.
Beatrice, you've also touched upon a lot around the idea of the importance of community heritage, especially, and storytelling when it comes to sustainability. And there's a designer called Joyce Adai Davis that runs a business called Adai Davis, and she is a recent graduate from the Royal College of Art. She came to speak to my students quite recently, and her collection was called Bolla of a Waste Girl. And she based it on the muse called Yara Santoa, who in the 18th century kind of fought colonialism. As part of her research, she went to the northern part of Ghana, to this massive like landfill where stuff is just dumped, and recreated garments from those pieces, but also designed particular pieces and footwear, all using kind of AI and kind of immersive technology, and thinking about the fact that when we think about things being durable and things being sustainable and designing from a sustainable aspect, that actually we bring in elements of digital technology, which can be contested. If we take a more digital perspective, it means things aren't being reused or wasted in a particular way. We can really visualize the future where things sit. But I thought that was quite interesting in terms of how we think about how things are kind of put into landfill, but also thinking about that from a cultural perspective and how that can be used in different ways kind of moving forward. And coming back to kind of the future of Black Girl Knit Club, we're in a space where we have built up an amazing community over the past 5 years, and that's included lots of different Black female designers with lots of different skills. We're thinking about kind of having more learning content and not doing stuff not only in the UK, but also within kind of West Africa as well, and thinking about how we can create like an ecosystem that where the legacy is passed on, not just within, the UK setting, but kind of also worldwide. So I think in terms of thinking about community and things being moved forward, that things are constantly being passed down for even when we're not here as well, in that kind of way.
What are the upcoming projects of the Black Girl Knit Club?
Yeah, just for our upcoming projects, we really do want to relaunch our yarn collection over this summer. which we're kind of looking at obviously the fabrics and the construction techniques of it all. So we really do want to make sure that the women or anyone who buys it, we really want to make sure that they actually use it for long-term use. So we are looking at relaunching like a tie-dye collection as well, and making sure that we can hone in on the storytelling and making sure that the story is ours to actually tell, and also for the wider community, especially of the club. We also do want to make sure that we have learning content available for everyone. So really want to go into that digital space and creating a legacy for all who really want to learn new skills and just be empowered by the new skills as well.
Just to add to that also, to what we were saying, that we've obviously just taken down our installation that's been up for the past 5 months, which has been amazing. We just finished doing London Craft Week and potentially doing a few more public installations that we've been approached to do, which is exciting, from taking things from being in a workshop space to a public space, which then brings a lot more visibility, a lot more kind of questions around craft, the stories and the makers that are behind it. So I think that's also going to be a kind of interesting journey, whether that's going to be in London, New York, West Africa. Kind of takes it into different kinds of spaces as well, from a domestic craft to a kind of a public space, which I think is also very exciting for us as a business.
How can people get involved with and support the Black Girl Knit Club?
They can sign up to our subscribers list. We have over 800 people on our subscribers list, but we do want a few more to join us, and they'll be the first to be informed for our workshops and any upcoming projects. We do try and send a newsletter weekly as well.
And you can follow us on our social media, Black Girl Knit.
Yeah, of course.
And via our website, we always have like updates of things coming up. So yeah, very exciting times ahead.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks so much to Vanessa, Sicgmone and Beatrice for sharing their stories and experiences with the Black Girl Knit Club. I've got to admit here, I know a bit about sustainability, but I know absolutely nothing about fashion. And I've learned so much today, and especially also about the community elements to their work, and indeed how fashion isn't just about a very depersonalized production process. It can really involve people and communities. And I think that's just something we shouldn't neglect here. And I think the Black Girl Knit Club is doing a fantastic job in raising the people element of making, of clothing, of textiles, of fashion. So remember, you can connect with the Black Girl Knit Club on their website and on social media. This episode was recorded as part of UEL's Year of Science. So do follow us on our different platforms to stay up to date with our episodes. And thanks very much for listening. Thank you.